We have some breaking news as of a few hours ago of me recording this. It happened very early Thursday morning, I believe. The one big, beautiful bill has finally passed the House, and no, not just another subcommittee. It has passed the House. It was brought up last evening for a floor vote, and they went at it throughout the night, throughout the early morning, and it has passed. And the final vote was 215 to 214. Damn. Here's what's in the GOP mega bill that just passed the House. We're going to read this take from NPR, and then we are going to switch over to our favorite MAGA consultant, ChatGPT. I just took the PDF of like the 1,200 page bill. I think it's like 1,200 pages. And I just fed it in a ChatGPT, and I said, summarize this, basically. And we're going to look at that, and it's going to give us a pretty just brief overview of everything in it. House Republicans have passed their massive bill to enact the heart of President Trump's domestic agenda, overcoming deep divisions inside the party to advance legislation that would cut trillions of dollars in taxes while scaling back safety net programs like Medicaid and SNAP. Final vote was 215 to 214. Today, the House has passed generational, truly nation-shaping legislation to reduce spending and permanently lower taxes for families and job creators, secure the border, unleash American energy dominance, restore peace through strength, and make government work more efficiently and effectively for all Americans, House Speaker Mike Johnson said after the vote. House Democrats voted against all of that. Yeah, no shit. As we're going to read and go over here, your bill is terrible. Like, every actual expert on this issue is just saying, like, bro, kiss the U.S. economy goodbye. Like, if you really cared about the debt and the deficit, this isn't the bill that passed. This is going to destroy the deficit and just balloon it insanely. Like, they don't care. And of course, all the benefits that actually go towards the middle and lower class, as we're going to read, are just modest in comparison, and especially when you factor in what the middle and lower class has to sacrifice. So, the new legislation aims to satisfy competing demands from fiscal hawks looking to reduce the deficit to blue state Republicans looking to lock in more favorable taxes for their constituents. The Thursday vote followed a day of near constant negotiations within the GOP. The talks included a White House meeting between Trump, Johnson, and several holdouts and skeptics. Johnson told reporters Wednesday after the meeting that he was optimistic about passing the bill. The plan is to move forward as expected. I think that all of our colleagues here will really like this final product. And by the way, this entire thing was completely negotiated in a partisan manner. Like, I don't think Democrats were allowed in the negotiation or just the actual like crafting of this bill at all. So yeah, and that's not even going into the concerns from Senate Republicans, because it's going to be a mess, and we'll be covering that anyways. Johnson entered the vote needing near unanimous support from his members for the bill to pass. House passage is one step in a lengthy process. Republicans still face more challenges in the Senate, where lawmakers have already signaled reservations about key elements of the plan. Sweeping pace of legislation runs more than 1,000 pages long, and this is the exact PDF that I took and fed into ChatGPT. It's 1,082 pages. Okay, so extending the Trump tax cuts. The Republican plans call for roughly $3.8 trillion in tax cuts, the bulk of which would come by extending the 2017 Trump tax cuts. Those cuts are due to expire at the end of the year, so without an extension, most households would see their taxes go up. No taxes on tips or overtime. The bill includes temporary changes designed to make good on several of Trump's campaign pledges, including no taxes on overtime earned between 2026 and 2028. Yeah, so congratulations, you got it for 2 years. Like, they did that, so it's going to be a political issue in 2028. And it wouldn't surprise me if Republicans are the ones that end up blocking efforts to extend it if it's a Democrat that is in office. The plan would also allow Americans to deduct interest on car loans, but only if the car is made in the U.S. It would increase the child tax credit to $2,500 until 2028, but only for people with social security numbers. After that, it would drop to $2,000 and grow with inflation. It would allow for a higher standard deduction through 2028 and to deliver on Trump's pledge to not tax social security benefits. The bill would allow for an extra $4,000 deduction for people over the age of 65, but it phases out for people at higher incomes. So I really like this part. Where is it? Deduct interest on car loans, specifically cars made in the U.S. See, these are sensible policies. It's just like that one time where the blind squirrel finds a nut. And like this is what I want you to do in terms of bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. There are more reasonable ways to do this, and more strategic and smart ways to do this through what we just read here, through subsidization, etc., than just tariffing the whole world and hoping for the best. Anyways, I digress. More SALT. One of the thorniest issues during negotiations has been state and local tax deduction, also known as SALT. The deduction is hugely important to a small number of GOP lawmakers from blue states with high taxes like California and New York. The 2017 tax cuts capped the SALT deduction at $10,000. The House plan would lift the cap to $40,000 for married couples with incomes up to $500,000. As far as I know, like SALT deductions is not gonna really matter for your average American. So I don't really care about that, to be honest. And here is where I'm gonna try to keep my cool. Work requirements for Medicaid, because it's already bad enough that we don't have like a single payer system or just like health coverage for all in this country. Now, like, and it's like already tied to work for normal people. Like, in general, your health insurance is tied to your job. You lose your job, you lose your health insurance. And now for Medicaid, we are adding work requirements to that too. Like, it's so crazy that everywhere else in the world, even places like El Salvador, have some form of universal health care where it's essentially free at the point of service. And we're over here doing shit like this. It's crazy. It blows my mind. Healthcare is a human right. Simple as that. The bill includes several proposed changes to Medicaid, the joint federal-state healthcare program for low-income, elderly, and disabled Americans. It's remained one of the most decisive issues throughout the GOP negotiations, but lawmakers argue that changes introduced by the bill will bring in hundreds of billions in necessary savings through the introduction of new work requirements. Beginning at the end of 2026, childless adults without disabilities would be required to work 80 hours per month to qualify for benefits. Yeah, I love how it was necessary. Cutting healthcare, Medicaid, Medicare was necessary through savings, because what's ironic about all this is these necessary cuts in the hundreds of billions was needed for Medicare and Medicaid, but wow, this article doesn't even cover that. That is a disservice, NPR, but luckily we'll cover it in the ChatGPT here in a moment. Is that they are increasing defense spending and homeland security spending by over $100 billion. Actually, it's closer to $200 billion. But we need to cut Medicare and Medicaid because the savings are necessary, and the deficit, it's too much money. We can't. But we can increase the military budget and give tax cuts to the rich. I'm all for tax cuts for the middle and lower class and all the overtime, no tax on tips. I'm fine with that. That's good. Why don't we make the tax cuts for the middle and lower class permanent and just let the tax cuts for the wealthy sunset? Do you know how much money that would raise? I'm pretty sure that would just immediately offset the middle and lower class benefits, tax cuts. It's crazy, but that's where their mindset is. Always more money for the military and for the ultra wealthy to get their tax cuts, but never more money for social programs that actually help people. Changes to SNAP. The Republican legislation also outlines reforms for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, food stamps, known as SNAP, which benefits more than 40 million low-income Americans. The bill increases the amount states contribute to the program and mandates work requirements for able-bodied SNAP enrollees who don't have dependents. Independent estimates suggest these changes could result in many people losing coverage. Like with Medicare talks, some Republican lawmakers have pushed back against massive changes to SNAP, given its wide reach and the millions enrolled in the program. Yeah, or they're trying to shift a lot of it to the states, which like states are already having so many costs shifted to them in terms of infrastructure, other healthcare spending, emergency spending now, education spending now. Like it's crazy. It's they just pretend that they can save all this money by shifting the burden to the states, and it's just going to be disastrous. Like I don't know how else to put it. So the party that also cares a lot about the debt and the deficit, they are lifting the debt ceiling by $4 trillion. Why would we need to raise the debt ceiling by $4 trillion if we're supposed to be tackling the debt and the deficit? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Lifting the debt limit doesn't authorize new spending. Instead, it allows the government to pay for programs that Congress has already authorized. If the cap isn't lifted and the government can't meet its obligations, then it will be at risk of default, a scenario that economists say that would be catastrophic, not for the U.S., but the global financial system as a whole. Oh boy. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has told Congress that without action, the U.S. will run out of money to pay its bills as soon as August, which means the clock is ticking. Yeah, and yeah, we know all about the debt ceiling and how that becomes a political issue every now and then. On to the just the summary that I fed. Like I fed the entire this entire PDF, all 1,000 pages of it, 1,082 in ChatGPT asks for a summary with some costs and a quick detail. Obviously, ChatGPT does have the ability to hallucinate and give inaccurate information. So, and I don't have time to fact check every single one of these. So, any number you see here, if it seems odd, or you just do further research before you go touting any numbers you may see in this section. Disclaimer: individual tax cuts, extension of the 2017 tax cuts. Already discussed this. This is going to cost over 2.18 trillion over the next 10 years. I believe some numbers had it, or some estimates had it higher. Child tax credit adjustments boost credit temporary to 2,500, then back to 2,000. I assume that's for 2 years until 2028, and then that's going to be 797 billion over 10 years. I'm fine with that. No tax on tips. That's fine. That's 40 billion over 10 years. That's less than like 1% of our budget for a single year, so that's fine. And so I even like people report that money anyways. Overtime wages excluded from federal income tax. And that is federal income tax. It's not like it's all tax free. Like I still think you have to pay into certain, like, does that exclude Social Security and such? I don't know. But that's 124 billion over 10 years. That's nothing. That is completely fine with me. Senior deduction boost, larger standard deduction for seniors. Don't know much about that, but 72 billion over 10 years, nothing. Car loan interest, talked about that, 58 billion over 10 years. Mega baby accounts, this one's interesting. It's the government essentially invests like $1,000 per child into a like tax exempt or some kind of like a like investment account, trust for a child that parents can also contribute up to like 5,000 a year. I don't know if we have a current program like that, and this is just a gimmick or just a way to get MAGA in there. But from what I briefly read about this, I'm fine with it. Sounds good. Only 17 billion. Hell yeah. HSA expansion raises contributions and limit and access 44 billion. That's fine at the simplistic reading. Again, it's hard for me to make a full determination based off of just like the small summary here. So I encourage you to do more research on each of these. Includes simplifications and adjustments to filing status credits, 48 billion. Business incentives, factory expanding full write-off for building manufacturing facilities, 148 billion. I am good with that. That is how I talked about earlier. This is how you subsidize and bring manufacturing back, not just blindly throwing tariffs everywhere. So, but of course, that's all the information we have. This could be something just completely stupid and just inefficient, or a way for them to transfer more money to the ultra wealthy. But hey, we'll see. At face value, sure. Clean fuel credits, extension of clean fuel production credits. Jesus Christ, man. Miscellaneous deductions, bonus depreciation and industry specific breaks, offsets, and revenue raisers. So they're going to repeal EV and IRA energy credits, ends electric vehicle and clean energy credits, 559 billion. This is like plus. So this is where some of their savings come from. Retaliation tax on foreign corpse, or corpse, I guess, imposes taxes to counteract other nations' digital taxes, limit ACA subsidies for immigrants, bars certain ACA benefits for undocumented immigrants / non-citizens. I'm interested to see what that is because they don't really get much to begin with. College endowment and executive pay tax hikes, raises taxes on large university endowments and high executive salaries. Yeah, I wonder why they're doing that. It's totally not because the Trump administration has declared war on like every single major private institution in the U.S. Remittance tax adds excise tax on international wire transfers, other offsets, import duty reforms, callbacks, user fees. And this is where I really, really get tickled. This is cost. Because, like, remember all the cuts we talked about to Medicare, Medicaid, and food stamps. And then also, like, this is not even factoring in Doge cuts that just wrecked a bunch of agencies like the National Weather Service. There were cuts to the VA. There was cuts to Social Security in terms of cutting phone staff support and closing a bunch of, like, over half of their leases for their physical offices. And that's just scratching the surface, man. Like, our social safety net system and just our overall, like our functioning government services are just absolutely wrecked right now. Um, yeah, but we can do all that, but we have to do all that, I should say. Screw the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, screw USAID, which massively helped farmers in the U.S. And, as a result of cutting it, it's going to cost millions of lives overseas, but who cares? They're overseas, I guess. Monsters. Anyways, for national defense and security, we have an additional $31.8 billion to shipbuilding. We have a $30.3 billion increase to missile defense and air superiority. We have $19.5 billion to munition stockpiles, $12.6 billion to nuclear force modernization, $10.5 billion to Indo-Pacific posture, personal and pay increases, $8.1 billion, and border security operations, $4.9 billion. Title I, Agriculture and Nutrition. So the SNAP work requirements they're cutting, eliminate SNAP education grants. That's like, this is a weird one because I think there were like grants and like ways to like say, hey, SNAP people, like here's some healthy, cost-effective alternatives, and that's supposed to be what Republicans are all about. They want them to spend their SNAP money on healthy food instead of junk food. It creates National Accuracy Clearinghouse. Detects double dipping across states. I'm not sure what that's going to be. Non-citizen eligibility restrictions. Tightens legal immigrant access to food aid. Jesus Christ. Crop insurance and rural development. Boost safety net and climate resilient farming. Education and workforce. Pell Grants allows Pell use for job training and non-degree certs. At face value, that sounds fine, but I think they made a lot of changes to Pell Grants that are actually terrible. I'm not sure of them off the top of my head, and I don't have them pulled up, so do your own research there. Student loan reform, caps forgiveness, streamlines repayment options. Oh boy. Regulatory blockades, prevents education secretary from unilateral reforms, energy and commerce. This is pretty much just repealing more green energy, like just clean energy stuff, and giving more of a boost to natural gas because screw the environment. Whether you believe in climate change or not, you should at least believe in clean air and clean water, because they've nuked the EPA as well in terms of agencies responsible for testing our water and our air. Healthcare changes, Medicaid work requirements, ACA subsidy reductions, and PAYGO Medicare cuts. So the total fiscal summary: tax cuts $3.7 trillion, spending increases spending minus $1.7 trillion, offsets plus $1.0 trillion. You take that and you have about a $4.5 trillion increase to the deficit before interest. Final thoughts and analysis. I love this because I didn't even ask for it. Strongly favorable to wealthier Americans. The top 20% of earners would receive over 60% of the benefits. Middle and lower income households would see modest or temporary relief, tips, overtime exemptions, and not structural changes. And they're going to see I'd argue they will see structural changes in terms of just basic government functions not working anymore. That is going to primarily affect the middle and lower class. So fun. Steep long-term fiscal impact, 4.5 trillion over the next decade in debt. And then, of course, the significant cut to safety programs. Independent estimates suggest up to 10 million people could lose benefits. Defense and industrial spending surge. So huge investments into the military industrial base, of course. Climate reversal, of course. And then likely Senate roadblock. It's going to be crazy to see how this unfolds in the Senate, because we've covered it. There's a lot of Senate Republicans that just like scoff at this bill, so we'll see. We will see. And I'm not sure how they're going to try to push it through the Senate. I want to say they can push it through the reconciliation process to bypass the filibuster, but we'll see. We will see. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And just remember, there's always money for tax cuts to the rich, the military, mass deportations, border security. But, you know, we had to cut Medicare, Medicaid, because we don't have enough money, apparently, and government spending's out of control. Yeah, and it's always the middle class that will pay the price ultimately for less. They will suffer more in terms of like just real quick Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Of course, that is going to hurt the middle and lower class, and that is going to infinitely benefit the upper, wealthier class. And then the National Labor Relations Board, which is responsible for unionizing. Yeah, I wonder who that's going to benefit. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below. And if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.